Hello out there today. Welcome to our podcast today. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. Good morning, EJ. The rain's let up, so I'm actually feeling a little bit better about today.
The sun is out, Aaron,
Yeah.
and I see that light coming in and it's shining. I'm feeling good about it today, man. It's going to warm up. I hope so because, I'm tired of being cold and I'm tired of the rain.
Right. Well, so much for our atmospheric river.
Yes. Yes.
But today I want to talk about something. It may go off the rails. It may gain some traction. It may not. Who knows? But I've been coaching since I was 18 years old.
Right.
Now I'm 59. I'll be 60 this year.
Right on.
And you just, after a while, you get to a certain age where you just have a certain sense of freedom when you run out of give a damn, and it becomes easier to say the silent shit out loud.
Right. Right
and
on.
I guess that's kind of where I'm at today. And so I guess parents and athletes, be warned. The language might get a little coarse, but the good thing about coarse language is it leaves nothing to interpretation.
Man, it's the truth.
So that kind of encapsulates the mood that I'm in this morning.
Well, you know what? It's the truth, Aaron. I mean, come on. I mean, how much more do we need to see, with the stuff that we go through on a daily basis? And it's not about getting old. It's not about this. It's just about the respect that people seem to have or have not for a lot of things. And so maybe that's just the way it is today, out here in the world today with this crazy social media and how everybody feels that they're the most important thing there is. So let's just rap about all this good stuff today, man. Good.
Well, in today's subject, I want to call seasonal gut check.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what I mean by that is, we both work with a lot of spring season athletes.
Right.
And so now they've been through their off-season training, or they should have been through their off-season training.
Mm-hmm.
And tryouts are starting, competitions will be starting, all of those sorts of things. And, a lot of times we ask athletes to reflect on their seasons post-season. But I actually want to ask athletes to reflect pre-season, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
In other words, I think it's a time when athletes should ask themselves, who do I want to be as an athlete this season? What's my model? How am I going to handle competition, wins, losses? What did I do last year that I didn't like about myself? And these are more so not necessarily the mechanical or tactical things. I mean, to some extent it is, on the surface, but I kind of want more athletes to take more inner reflection and say, okay, I'm not going to get rattled. I'm going to impose my will on the game this year.
Right.
I want to be the difference maker. I'm not going to, let what criticisms that my teammates or coaches or whatever get to me. I'm going to use that as fuel or energy to turn things around. So all of those things that you fight as an athlete that aren't always talked about. Again, we always talk about the surface stuff. We talk about what's your goal for the year. I want to run this, or I want to throw this, or I want to hit this. But sports is more about competing against that guy or that girl in the mirror.
Yeah.
And a lot of our failings, I think, are because of some of the baggage we carry just being people ourselves. And so I think it serves athletes well to sit back and say, hey, you know what? I was kind of a punk about some stuff last year. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fade out. I'm not going to bail out on my team, or I'm going to keep my head about me. I'm going to keep my temper. All of those sorts of things that actually make your performance go awry or have a lack of performance. Maybe it frees you up. So whatever that might be, whatever that baggage or those personal demons that you're fighting happen to be for you, you have to say, hey, I'm going to grab a hold of this and I'm going to handle this. For instance, personal.
Okay.
For me, when I was racing sometimes, I was a front runner. I always got out up front. And for a period of time, I used to get out front and then I would be consumed with worrying that people would catch me. Saying, hey, relax and go.
Relax
and
and
if
go.
someone catches you, don't react to that and fight it, but relax and go. And that's just something I learned, after thinking about myself and also getting tired of it and arming myself with ways to handle that. And it wasn't necessarily anything that I did physically, but it was something that I did mentally and emotionally. If that makes any sense.
Loud and clear. I mean, boy, this is relevant. The last, it goes back to what you said earlier, that we're working with a lot of spring athletes and tryouts are around the corner. My talks with my players, Aaron, who are going out, embarking on this high school journey or college journey, is about their head, their mind space, what they're thinking, how they're processing experiences, whether it's something a coach said or something that they did last year that they don't want to do, or an experience that they just recently had. How are you going to navigate that now that the season's here? And my talks with the guys, Aaron, have been about the mental aspect of the activity they're doing. It's not a mechanical thing. It's not a fundamental. If we're talking about hitting, it's not a swing fundamental, but maybe a thought. This is what I'm thinking. This is my thought now. I didn't think this last year, but this is my thought that's allowing me to free up so my athleticism, my mechanics can take over. I'm
Right.
free. I have this freeness in my mind and I feel good about what I'm doing. I'm talking about that right now, Aaron. I'm not talking about, hey man, your back foot's not doing this, or your knee's not doing this, or your arm's not doing this. I'm talking about what's allowing you to be free in your mind so you can go out there and perform. And a lot of them are taking this seriously because it's holding back their performance. From last year, guys learned, like, I can't do that anymore, EJ. I can't think that way. I've heard this. I can't think that way anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, right, you can't think that way anymore. Here's your new process of thinking. And this is going to catapult you to a higher being. And this is how you're going to react to certain things that happen to you instantly in the performance that you're doing that time. So it's been a lot of talking recently, Aaron. I mean, when I say recently, last three weeks to a month, about less about mechanics. The season's here now, man. Monday, it's go time, man.
Right.
And you don't have time to reinvent yourself physically.
Right.
But you can reinvent yourself mentally and how you talk to yourself.
That's what I'm getting at. And that's where I hope that athletes will understand this. And it starts with asking a simple question. Who are you? Ask yourself, who are you? And I think that's an important question. And you gotta peel that back and say, hey, who am I? And who do I really want people to see me as? In other words, in track and field, are you the give me the stick guy? I want to run anchor because whatever happens, I want to take responsibility and accountability that I get us across the line first.
Right.
You know, maybe it's, hey, I'm a pitcher. I want the ball. I want the ball all the time, every game. You know, whether you're wide receiver, whatever it is, but
right.
starting to take that real ownership into, I think, you know, making a difference in the game, being a playmaker, just really reveling in the competition and who you are, and, you know, all of those sorts of things. That's all mental exercise, because it's real easy to, you know, pretend, oh yeah, you know, you get the kids out there, they got all the gear on and they can't play for nothing, you know,
they can't play.
You know, and it's like, really, are you a poser, pretender? Or are you a player? And I don't know, I just don't have a lot of patience, especially in a team sport when other people are counting on you.
Yeah.
Individual sport, you're going to get exposed.
You're going to get exposed quickly.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, if you're telling the coach, I want to be that leadoff hitter, or I want to be that number 4 guy, then be about it. And have others thinking that this is who you want to be when you're not willing to take the risk and the accountability for being in that position. Don't tell me, you know, hey coach, I'm going to take us to Orbit City, and then we end up in Bedrock. Anyway, for those of you guys, it's a Jetsons Flintstone.
Jetsons Flintstone.
So sometimes, you know, athletes are afraid to say, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, because they're worried about the ridicule and everything. You guys gotta lock that noise out. Put your head down and be who you want to be. So, I mean, that's what I'd like to say in terms of just knowing who you are.
Well, I asked this athlete the other day, this hitter, and I asked him, I said, how do you feel right now? He says, I feel comfortable. I said, you feel comfortable? And it had nothing to do with mechanics. I just feel good about what I'm doing.
Right.
And he goes, I feel like I can't be stopped, he said. He says, I can't be stopped because I just believe in what I'm doing. And nothing's going to stop me. My mind is clear. I'm free. And I see success happening. That's who he wants to be this year. That's what he wasn't that last year, but he said, this is what I've learned through my experiences. And this is what I want to do now. Be in the present. And I think a lot of times athletes aren't in the present. Right. You know, but what are you going to do now? You know, I always think about the future, what happened before, I heard about this. You said a key word, noise. You got to, the noise is the noise. Yeah. How do you deal with the noise? Right. And what are you going to do that? So when that athlete told me, he says, man, I'm just comfortable, man. I can't be stopped right now. And I believe in what I'm doing because, you know, even if I go bad, I'm believing it because I put in all this work and I'm just there now. And you talk about the present, and I thought that's really key. So when I hear you talk about be about it, I love that. First of all, when you did that, man, I was a high five and you didn't see that. Be about it, man. You got to be about it. And being about it is just like, hey, you don't care what people think. I'm going to be about what I'm doing and let's go. And one thing I respect about track guys, man, I'm going to tell you this is what I love about track athletes. They get on that line, man, no matter, you can just see the confidence that runners have a lot. They're just like, hey, I'm there. Like their energy and how they carry them. I've never seen a runner go to the line and he's looking down and slumping his shoulders and stuff.
You can't fake it.
Yeah, they're not faking it, man. They're like, hey, let's go. Let's go. And I don't see athletes these days when they get in the moment, because we're talking about now and doing something that's coming up. Are they like that? Are guys like, I see guys on the mound, some pitchers, And I know, man, it's go time. It's like no matter what, they're going. Even if they get something goes awry a little bit in that inning, he's like, give me the ball again. Let's go. Comes back in, upset. Okay, I'm all right. Let's go. Next thing, not going to happen. It's about that moment. And I think the key of this, Aaron, for me, is being in the moment and adjusting in the moment and being about it and being not afraid when something happens that you're just gonna like, oh, I'm not about it anymore. I'm gonna go in my corner.
Right. Are
you gonna attack this thing and be who you are now and take accountability for your actions? Right. You know, I think a lot of these athletes need to be accountable, man. It's where you're at. Just be accountable for your actions, whether it's good or bad, and then react to it and say, I did this better now than I did last year or the year before, or this is my new way of my processing all of this information to be where I need to be. That's what I think, man. I mean, just straight up. I mean, these athletes need to feel that way coming into their spring sports. You know, they have to be. If they're not, then what are they doing then? Are they treading water?
Right.
They done this work. They haven't put their head down. You said keyword, put your head down and go to work.
Yeah. I just think, you know, there's certain periods of time when you truly become an athlete. And, you know, and you said moments, and it's like moments of failure, moments of triumph, moments of hardship. It's how you handle those moments which determines what kind of athlete you really are.
Right.
And sometimes you may be that athlete who folds. Hopefully you learn from that and say, hey, look, I'm not folding next time I get in there. Or maybe it's a triumph, but you didn't handle it gracefully. And you got to reflect on that and say, hey, you know, how am I going to handle this? Or if I'm having so much success, am I going to now start to sit on my laurels and coast? I think these are just some things maybe kids should just think about and say, hey, if I'm going to look at myself, get outside of myself and look at who I'm going to be this year, what is it going to look like? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that helps you start to figure out how you're going to navigate these moments when they come up, because now you've thought about them, you thought through them, and you're prepared for, hey, this is the type of response I will feel good about myself having if I respond in this way. Whether it results in success or failure is something else. But if you've chosen to respond in a certain way that you can live with and you know was proper, I think that says a lot for your growth as an athlete. One of the other things I want to talk about too is, and we kind of touched on it, is what do you want to accomplish? I think athletes should look at practices and say, okay, when that luster and newness of the beginning of the season dies off,
right,
you know, all the hype and everything, and practice becomes mundane and it gets colored by the anticipation of oncoming opponents and previous competitions where you won or lost. How are you going to approach your practice now? Are you going to fall into this malaise of just kind of coasting through? Or are you going to still keep the same energy and focus and thoughtfulness of what you should be doing and learning from your previous competitions and preparing for your new competitions and, you know, all of those sorts of things? I think that's important, because what happens is it's easy for athletes to just kind of say, okay, well, the season's here. Practice is not that important. I'm just kind of treading water until the game comes. And then all of a sudden I'm going to hit this magical switch and I'm going to perform. And I don't think that's realistic either.
You know, Aaron, it's all about consistency. You know, I mean, how good is a athlete? Everybody's fired up at the beginning of the year. I'm ready to go, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, you're a month and a half, 6 weeks into your season, 7 weeks in your season, and you're settling in.
Right.
How are you thinking? You know, athletes never think about that. They let the malaise of the season just settle in, and they just go with the flow.
Right.
Think outside the box. I tell guys, think outside the box. Do something different. Like, what are you doing? Are you going to be consistent? Do you have a routine that you're doing?
Right.
Are you just there to be there? Are you really concentrating and focusing on, okay, what I need to do this week? Now, are you in the present? Are you just thinking, okay, yeah, we got a game against them. We didn't do well against them. Okay, that guy's pitching, same thing. What are you going to do now? What are you going to change? Did you reflect? We need to be introspective. We need to look within to find answers instead of relying on other people to make us feel good. We need to find out what is our internal fire.
Right.
What kind of internal fire do we have, or do we not have one? Well, you didn't have one last year. I think you need an internal fire. If you have no energy, then get some energy. Where's your energy? And I really, I think this is a good subject to talk about, because I don't think really very many athletes really think about that. But going back to our days, it's something that we thought about, and we were professional athletes, and we're just talking about being an athlete. We didn't say anything about, what kind of athlete you were, but I think it's a code, a shield, or something you have if you're an athlete. That's part of your repertoire. That's something you do. Right. You have to internalize. You have to be in the present. You have to think about what kind of athlete I want to be now.
Sports is one of those things where you have to know who you are as a person to perform at your best, and you have to be realistic at who you are, what your shortcomings are, and how to overcome those to continue to be successful. And there's people, they want to complain about, social media and criticisms and all this. And that's just kind of the world you guys are in right now, for better or for worse. And that's sports. But, to quote one of those nuggets of wisdom from Hanna-Barbera, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. Super Chicken. I'll leave you with that, man.
I love it, man. Hanna-Barbera. I love it, man. Yeah. With that said, man, that's some beautiful insight for the source over there. We're going to leave it on that one. This is Coach EJ, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron, the source. We'll see you.